Today we will be learning about Python collection, or we can say sequences, and further we will be learning about lists and list operations in Python. So this is learning by
Learning by
doing.
doing.
Learning by doing. Very good. So we will be covering the topics sequences, collections, and Python lists. Yeah. So what is a sequence? A sequence is a group of items with a deterministic ordering, right? So you can see over here, the basic feature over here is deterministic ordering, right? The order in which we put them in is the order in which we get an item out from them. I'm again speaking out. The order in which we put them in is the order in which we get an item out from them. For example, we take the case of groceries, right? So here what we have done is we have put three items. First we have added milk, then we have added bread, then we have added eggs. So this is the sequence how we have added over here. So here we have mentioned is the order in which we put them in. So this is the order we have put in, and this is the order we will be taking them out. So this is your first element, this is your second element, and this is your third element, right? So a sequence is a group of items with a deterministic ordering. So it has the order. That's why it is sequence. So we can use it to store multiple values. So we are storing multiple values over here and we are accessing them sequentially. So that's why it is a sequence. And we are accessing them sequentially by their positions. So here position we have already seen, it is 0, 1, 2. So or index. Fine. So for example, groceries 1. Groceries 1 means you are accessing this. Got it? So this it will be displaying onto the output. So Python offers 6 type of sequences. First we will be talking about list, then we will be talking about tuples, then string, byte sequence, byte array, range object. So these are the 6 type of sequences it has. Then we have seen sequence, definition of sequence. Now we are coming to the term collections. What is Python collection? Python collection, unlike a sequence. So see, I am writing over here as unlike a sequence. There is a difference between sequence and collection. Python collection, unlike a sequence, does not have a deterministic ordering. So now it does not have the deterministic ordering over here, right? So example include, we are talking about sets and dictionaries. So they do not have the deterministic ordering. If you talk about the mathematical set also, so you do not have the deterministic ordering. If you talk about the dictionaries, we can access the elements of the dictionaries through its keys. So in a collection, while ordering is arbitrary, physically they do not have an order. Every time we visit a set, we get its item in the same order. However, if we add or remove an item, it may affect the order. So you may try this exercise in the Python interpreter. You create one set, right? Display the values of the set, items in the set, then you do some operation on it, and then you try to display the elements of the set. So you will see there may be a change in the order it is displayed. Fine. So we can group multiple values together in a collection, like list of numbers or dictionary, which we can use to store and retrieve key value pairs. So here you can see sets and dictionaries are collections, right? They are not sequences. The ordering of items in sets is not random, and it's technically not unpredictable. The ordering of keys and values in the dictionaries is arbitrary. So these are some important things. Physically, the collections have an order. Every time you iterate over a set, you will visit its item in the same order. As I have already told, that once you are retrieving, it has an order, but the order may change if you add or remove items. So basically, if you do anything that depends on a collection having a specific ordering, you will end up regretting it, because in collection you do not have the specific ordering. Every time you may get different type of ordering of the elements. So now if we talk about the difference between the sequences and the collections, sequences have a deterministic ordering and collections do not have deterministic ordering, and this is the biggest, we can say, the difference over here. List, tuple, and the strings, they are the sequences because they have particular ordering, because the things come out of them in the same order they are put in, while sets and dictionaries are collections, and the ordering of the items in the sets is not random, it's technically not unpredictable. The ordering of keys and values in dictionaries is arbitrary. So we can say the collection refers to a data type that holds stuff, and a sequence is something designed to be iterated over. In Python, a list, a tuple, and a string are all sequences, all of which are implemented as arrays. A dictionary and a set are also both data type that are implemented as a non-linear addressing hash table. So here you can see that if you talk about this sequences, they are implemented as arrays. If you talk about the collections, so they are implemented as a non-linear addressing hash table. So the set having dummy values and some tricks to make them faster. So this will be faster. Other useful data structures can be found in collections module and include double-ended linked list, a counter, right, and a default tick. So this is very important difference that you can just keep in mind. Then basically a sequence, yeah, this is also important. A sequence is a collection. A sequence is a collection that implements a get item, length methods, and excluding dictionaries. Because get item accepts more than integers, the Python sequence checks has an explicit dictionary exclusion. So that we will be discussing in details further. So this is all the data types. This is very important concept. All the data types are collections. Look at this. But list, tuple, str, bytes types are also sequences. Also, this is the important term, right? So all the data types are collection, but these are sequences also. But if talk about set and dictionary, they are just collections, they are not sequences. Got it? Then we are coming to lists. So what do you mean by Python lists? So now we will be learning about list and its operations. Unlike C++ or Java, Python programming language does not have arrays. To hold a sequence of values, then it provides list class. So here we know that we have a list class. And a Python list can be seen as collection of values. The Python list type is called list. It is a type of sequence. We can use it to store multiple values, and we can access them sequentially by their position. Or we can use index, we can say index in the list. So Python lists are similar to arrays in C. No doubt we have the differences in that. Lists are ordered sequences that can hold a variety of object types. Lists support indexing and slicing. So slicing we are coming further. List can be nested also, and it can have variety of useful methods that can be called of them. Indexing, what we mean by indexing? Indexing means referring to an element of an iterable by its position within the iterable. So we know that indexing in arrays also, when we have to refer a particular element, we are putting the index of that element inside the square brackets. So this is basically indexing. Slicing means getting a subset of elements out of the list, or part of that we are doing the slicing of that. On another way, if in general terms we are talking about, if you have a uh, big part of butter and you are doing the slicing, you are getting the parts of it, right? So this is a similar kind of thing. You are getting the subset of elements from an element of the lists. So these are some of the you are creating a list. You can create a list, fine. So we have creating a list, then how to access the elements of the list, how can you slice the list, how you can reassign the elements in the list. So this is mutable, you can change the elements, so that's why it is mutable. You can delete elements, you can delete particular element, you can delete number of elements in one go, or you can delete the complete list. You can have the multi-dimensional list also. Then we will be talking about concatenation. We will be talking about operations on the list, iterating on a list, how to access the elements of the list one by one. List comprehension we will be doing. We will be looking at what are the built-in functions for the list, what are the built-in methods for the list. So we will be covering all the topics one by one. First, we are starting with how to create lists in Python. So whenever you are creating the list of items in Python, you need to mention the items separated by commas, and it has to be enclosed in square brackets. So you can see over here, we have kept the name of the list as colors, right? Then we are putting equal to, that is assignment operator. Then you have the open and closed square brackets, and inside you are mentioning the list elements separated by commas. And if they are the strings, so you are enclosing in single quotes, and if they are numbers, you are writing in a simple way. And if you have the heterogeneous elements, so this is your string, this is your number, this is your floating point number, right? So so this is the, basically we can say it is the syntax of Python you need to follow for creating a list. And then you are assigning a variable. So remember, once again, you don't need to declare the data type over here, right? So you have not written list against colors variable, because Python is, you can see here the term dynamically typed, right? So this is a dynamically typed language. So it will pick its type by itself, right? So the items stored in the list are separated by comma and enclosed within the square brackets. The list can contain data of different types, heterogeneous data types can be enclosed, stored into it. We can mix the type of values that we can store in a list. Now you are assigning values to the list. We define a list literal by putting a comma separated list of values inside the square brackets, right? So first we will look at the list of strings. We have kept the name of the list as animals, and here you are writing the strings inside it by separating the commas over here, right? So this is your square brackets, and as it is a string, so you have used this open, and you have used the quotes over here. Then you have a list of integers in which you have written the numbers inside it, the square brackets, by putting the commas over here, right? And then you have kept the name, any name you can kept. This is the name of the list. You can create an empty list by putting just the square brackets, open and close square brackets. So this is an empty list. List of variables, right? One variable, another variable, third variable. So you can see over here that this trailing comma is legal in Python. So this is trailing comma. A list may also contain functions. This is also an important feature over here in list, that if you are declaring some function, right, so you are just mentioning the function over here. See, you have not put any quotes around say hi, because this is a function, right? So hey, if you try to display it, so you try to find out what is it, so it will say that this is a function, and you need to execute or call this function. You are first accessing that element. Fine, you are accessing this element, and then you are putting open and close parenthesis to call a function, right? So basically it will be calling like say hi this line is equivalent to this, so it means you are calling the function. So you have seen how you are creating the list, right? And now we are moving towards how you are accessing the list elements. To refer an element in the list, we use the list identifier, right? What do you mean by list identifier? Name of the list, right? List identifier. So this is animals is your list identifier. Here you can see the example we have taken. The animals is the list where you have put the list of strings. Here you have the element list with name numbers, and you have the numbers stored inside this list. And this is your basically list identifier that identifies the list, followed by the index. So this is your index, and you have put into square brackets. So these are the square brackets. So indices are integers. So they must be integers, and they cannot be floating point numbers. And they always start with 0. So it means this is 0th element, this is first, this is second, this is third, this is fourth. Total of how many elements are there? 5. But the index is starting from 0 to 4. So print animals 0, it will display the 0th elements, that is cat. Numbers 1, it will display 7 because this is second element. Animals 6, 0, 1, 2, 3. So this will give us an error because the list only has 4 elements. Then we are moving towards the slicing of the list. So slicing, we have already seen that extracting the subset of a list. So we can, if you look at the indexing, so we have done positive indexing, right? Here what we have done is we have done only positive indexing, but we can have the negative indexing also, right? So let's look at this animals example, right? Suppose any list we are taking in which we have stored any number over here. Suppose this is your list, right? So it means this is your 0th element, this is your first element, this is your second element, this is your third element, this is your fourth element. Now take the negative index -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. If we kept the name of this list as A, so if you write A -1, it will display you 10. If you display A -5, it will display you 3. So this is negative indexing. So you can also count from the end, right? So you can say that animals -1. Animals -1, you can see over here as bison is there. So this is -1, -2, -3, -4, right? So -2 is -1, -2, right? Second last element of the numbers. So this is your -2. So we can extract a subset of a list which can itself be a list, right? So how you will be doing? You need to, so here you can see that instead of specifying a single index between the square brackets, you need to specify upper and lower bound. And we have already seen that it is no doubt considering, it is including the element at the lower bound, but exclude the element at the upper bound. So 1 to 3, right? It will take like 0, 1, right? So 1, 2, 3. So 3 will not be included. 1 and 2 will be included. So it will display dog and fish. Then 1 is to minus 1, right? So if you look at this animals, it was 0, 1, 2, 3, right? Minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, and minus 4. So 1 to minus 1, again it has displayed dog and fish because minus 1 is not considered over here. Then if one of the bounds is one of the ends of the list, we can leave it out. So 2 colon, then there is nothing mentioned over here. It means starting from 2, you can see it is starting from fish and then it goes up to bison. Then colon 2, go up to, so 2 will not be considered over here, up to 1. So cat and dog. A slice with neither bound specified gives us a copy of the list. So print animals column, a copy of the whole list will be displayed. We can even include a third parameter to specify the step size. Nothing has been mentioned over here in the example you are seeing over here, right? So nothing has been mentioned. So here colon 2. So it means no upper bound, no lower bound, no upper bound. Then step size. This is your step size, right? So jumping. So it means first starting with cat, then it will be giving you fish. Then we have seen creating list, we have seen accessing the elements, we have seen slicing of the list. Now as it is a mutable, we can change the values of the lists. So how to reassign the values in the list? So lists are mutable. This is the big feature of the list. We can modify the elements, we can add the elements to them, and we can remove the elements. So we can modify, we can add, and we can remove. A list will change size dynamically when we add or remove the elements, and we don't have to manage this ourselves. It will be managed by the Python itself. So what you are doing is, suppose you have, this is your 0, right? This is your 1, this is your 2, this is your 3, fine. So you are assigning the new element over here, right? So this bison will be replaced with hamster. Adding a new element to the end of the list. So here you are adding by using the method append. Animals dot append squirrel. So squirrel will be added at the end of the list. Then we'll see deleting the elements. So we have a deletion operation in which you can delete the whole list, and you have a simple keyword for that is del, and then the name of the list. Then you try to display it, it will give you an error. It will say that name error, name colors is not defined because you have already deleted it. So simple is del, del will delete the whole list. Then deleting the few elements. So you can use the slicing operator in Python to delete the slice. So this is, suppose this is the list you have in which 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 elements are there. And now you are deleting color starting from 2 up to 4. So then you try to display it. So it will be remained with elements caramel, gold, and holographic. So you are deleting from 2 to 4. So why it is? Because here you can see this force will be excluded, right? You have deleted 2, you have deleted 3, right? Because it is deleting second and third element, and it is displaying caramel, gold, and holographic. Now you try to display it, because now it has done the reordering. Now this becomes 0, this becomes 1, this becomes 2. So now if you try to display colors 2, so it will display holographic. Now it is at the position 2. Now deleting a single element. To delete a single element from a Python list, use its index, right? So simply whichever element you want to delete it, mention the index of it. You here, now the colors has become this. You try to delete the first element over here, so it is left with gold and holographic now. So this caramel has been deleted from the list when you have mentioned this statement. So you have seen how to delete the complete list, how to delete single element, how to delete subset of the list. Now we are moving toward the multi-dimensional list. Multi-dimensional list is a list may have a Python list inside it also. So in this example, you can see, we know that the list is mentioned with the square brackets. So this is another square bracket in which elements are there. Another square bracket in which elements are there. Another square brackets, elements are there. There are no square brackets. So they are the direct elements of the list, and they are the list inside the list, right? So this is list 1, this is list 2, this is list 3, this is element, this is element. No doubt they are also elements, but the elements are again the list. So now you try to display it, so it will display like this, right? So when you try to display the type of the first element over here, you are writing type in brackets, you are mentioning the name of the list along with the index. So this is the first element, and it is displaying this is a list, because we have a list as a first element of the list languages. So a list may also contain tuples. So tuples, we have seen earlier that they are mentioned with the open closed parenthesis. So this is a tuple inside the list. So you try to display the first element, it will display the tuple. Then you try to display the type of this element, it will display it is a tuple. Now look at this. This is, you have seen two-dimensional arrays and in C, C++. So this is your first element, and further, as the first element is a tuple, you try to find out the first element of that tuple, right? So it will display, here we are not displaying it, but we are trying to reassign the value from English to this Albanian in a tuple, right? Because this is a tuple. First element of this list is a tuple, and as the tuples are immutable, you cannot change the elements of a tuple, and you try to change this English to this Albanian, it will give you error, because tuple object does not support item assignment, right? Even if it is an element of a list, but still the properties of tuple remain, because it is a tuple what has been mentioned inside the list. So we cannot change the elements of the tuple, they are immutable. You can also put a list in a list, so no doubt anything you can put. So this is nested list, so this is the first element, this is the second element, this is the another element. So you display it, so it will display you the list, complete list. So this is a grocery Python list with lists inside it, where the lists are according to the category. Then you can go further, you can go deeper into it, right? So list inside the list, inside the list, any. So you can see the example over here. So here you can have, this is one list, right? This is the outer list, right? Actually A, and inside this is your first element. From here to here, this is your first element, in which first again we have a list, right? Again we have a list, and this is the element, and this is the another element of that. Got it? So to access the elements over here, what you will be doing? So this is your first element, right? So you have mentioned over here. Inside it, you are accessing 0, 1, 0, 1. So you have accessed the again sublist. And further you are accessing, this is your 0th, this is your first. So first element, right? So 0, 1, 1, it will give you 4. You had this outer, right, list. Inside it, you had again a list, right? And then inside it again, you have one list, another list, and then element, right? And this was your 0th element, this was your first element. If you talk about over here, right, this was your 0 element, this is your first element, this is your 0th. If you talk about over here, you have further 0 and 1 element. So you have tried to access it using this. So that's why 0, right? Then you have accessed 1, right? 0, then 1, and then 1. So you have seen about this. Now we are moving towards the concatenation of list, right? Some of the arithmetic operators we have used on numbers before can also be used on the lists, but the way they are affecting may not what we are expecting, right? So let's see, we can concatenate two lists by adding them. You are putting the plus sign over here. So this is your first list, this is your another list. It will not add these numbers. It is just putting the elements one after the another. This is concatenation, right? So here also you can write like this. This is your A list, this is your B list. This is how you can define also. You can just look at it how you are defining two lists and you are writing A plus B, it will display you. You can concatenate a list with itself by multiplying it by an integer. You are multiplying by 3, so it is repeating one after another 3 times, right? You can write it like this also. It will give you after concatenation. So now not all arithmetic operators can be used on the list. You can see over here the sub minus operator will not work over here. It will give you error. Then we are moving towards operations on lists, right? So what are the operations that you can do? First, we have seen concatenation operator and minus, it will not work on. Then we have the membership operations. Membership operations, if you want to see whether it is a member or not of this list. So here, this is the list. We are taking an example of numbers in which we have these elements in it. So we have taken one variable my number and we have stored the value as 67. We want to check whether this is in the list or not, right? So it will in the list or not. So you will be using the membership operator in and not in. So you can see that if this is the conditional statement, number in numbers. So here you can write my underscore number in numbers. So it will display true or false. Then you are writing over here. So here you must have written my underscore. If my underscore number not in, right? So this is the membership we have already seen. So here how you can use the membership of operators for the finding whether the element is part of that. So look at the note over here. Precedence is also there. In and not in fall between the logical operators and or and not, and the identity operators is and is not in the order of precedence. So precedence has to be considered if all these three come in a single expression. Then we are moving towards the iterating on a list, right? So how you can access all the elements through the right. So here what you are doing is you are using the for loop. So I is the variable what you have, or counter you can use, right? In, right? And then the list. So what you are doing is, if this I when divided with 2 gives you the remainder 0, it will display it is a composite. So it is picking element one by one and checking for this condition, accordingly displaying the message onto the screen. So you are iterating through the list one by one. So basically we can say that for I in, so this is the list what you want to iterate, right? So what you are doing is simply you are writing print I. So it will display 1, 2, 3. Simple. Then you are moving towards list comprehension. So you can create a new list just like you will do in mathematics. To do so, type an expression followed by a for statement, all inside square brackets. So just have a look on this example. This is the list what you want to create, right? And what you want to create is all the even numbers. So that's why 2 multiply by I. And you are picking this I from this for loop, and the elements should go from 1 to 11 range. We have already seen 1, 2, 3 up to 11, right? Sorry, 10. So in it will not use this 11, it is excluding. So it will, as it is a for loop, so I will pick 1 from here. So it is 2 multiplied by 1, so first element becomes 2. Then it is picking 2, so multiplying 2 it becomes 4. So in this way it has generated your list. It is list comprehension. Or you can define a condition also over here, right? Here you can see over here, you are picking only the elements from this range that have, when divided by 3, has the remainder of 0. So then it is picking, first it is picking 3, then it is picking, yes, 6, then it will be picking 9. So it's why 6, then 12, and then 18. Fine. So in this way you can write some kind of expression over here to find the elements, to generate the elements automatically in the list. Then we have the built-in functions for the list. So if you talk about the built-in functions, we can find the length of the list, we can find the maximum element from the list, we can find the minimum element from the list, we can do the summation of all the elements of the list, we can have a sorted list, any, all. So let's have a look one by one. So first start with the length. So you can find the length of the list by writing len, the name of the function, inside the name of the list, right? Then you are doing the sum of the list of the numbers. You are writing the sum function, and inside you are mentioning the list name. Any, are any of the values true? Any, right? So 1, 0, so you are mentioning the list name, any, right? And in brackets you are writing the list name. If any of the value is true, it will give you true. Or all these values true, all, right? So then if all are true, it will give true, otherwise false. Max, it will return the item, maximum item with the highest value. So max, then name of the list. Min, name of the list, it will return the item from the list with the lowest value. Then list, it converts, what is this? It converts a different data type into a list, right? So if it is a string, so it is converting into string list, and it is returning like this by comma separating. It can't convert a single int. So you just note it down. Single int cannot be converted into a list, though it only converts iterables. This is important part over here that you should take care of that, right? So you try to convert this element 2 into list integer, so it has given error. Int object is not iterable. Only iterable objects can be converted into list. Then there are two things. One is sorted, another is reversed, right? So if we want to sort or reverse a list, we can either call a method on the list to modify it. So it is also an important term, in place, or use a function to return a modified copy of the list while leaving the original list untouched, right? So one is you are sorting or reversing the list, original list. It is known as in place. It is changed, modified. Other is you are getting a modified copy of the list, but you are retaining the original as well, right? So this is, these return a modified copy and the original is untouched. So that's why we are using the term sorted, reversed, right? So they will return you the modified copy and the original will be remained as such. When you try to print the original one, so definitely you will be able to get the original as well, and this will give you the modified ones. Then we are moving towards the built-in methods, in which we are having append, insert, remove, pop, clear, index, count, sort, and reverse. So here we have the sort and reverse as well. In the previous, we have seen sorted and reversed, in which modified copy was given to us. So append, what it does is, we already have seen that how to add an element at the end. So when we are going to add the element at the end, you are using the term as append. And what element to add, it will append at the end. Extend, append several values at once, several values at once, but it will be appended at the end. So you can write number of elements all together and they will be appended at the end. You want to insert at a particular index, so you are inserting over here by putting the index value along with the value what you want to insert. Removing an element by its value, right? So just mention the value, but if the value appears more than once, only first one will be removed, right? Then pop, remove an element by its index and assign it to a variable. So this is how it does. It is by value and it is by index. Then we are moving towards the term count. Function is count. Count how many times a value appears in the list. How many times 5 is appearing in the list. Find the index of a value. So what is the index of the element 3 in the list? So suppose we are talking about over here, so it will return 0, 1, 2. So it will return 2. So index of 3 is 2. So if there are this number is appearing more than once, so it will return the index of the first one only. If the value is not in the list, it will give you value error, right? Clear means emptying the Python list. So numbers dot clear, so it will become empty. Now it has false value. So boolean, so you can see its boolean is it's false or true. Sort and reverse, we have already seen the reversed and sorted. So now if you talk about sort and reverse, you can write sort and reverse. Reversed function actually returns a generator and not a list. That you should take care of that, right? So we have to convert it to a list before we can print the contents. This is important. When you are using reversed, it is giving you generator, not a list. That's why you are first converting into list, right? So to do this, we call the list type like a function. Just we would call int or float to convert the numbers. So this is your animals. Then you are sorting it, right? And here you need not to do this because it is returning you the list. You can just see over here again back. If you go to the sorted, so here you can see that you are when you are using the reversed, you are converting into list. Fine. So these are some of the sample programs. Let's have a look on this. So this is the list 1, this is the list 2, what you have seen. So we are using the membership function over here. If 30 in my list, so print 30 in list, 30 is there, right? So 30 is present, it will display this 30 is present. If 120 not in my list, list 1, so 120 is not there, so it is displaying 120 is not, so because it is going inside. Then you are concatenating my list and my list 2. So you can see this is the up to 50, this is list 1 and this is list 2. So they are appended one after another. Finding the maximum of this first is multiplication of 3 times it is appending. So this is up to first, then and second, and this is third. Then you are finding the maximum element of list 2. So what is the maximum element? We can see over here it is 96, so it will be displaying 96 over here. What is the minimum value? What is next? Then is counting 42. How many times the 42 is coming? So it is coming 2 times, so it is displaying 2. So you can see over here that count has been used, right? So it is displaying you 2. Then my list 2 to 7, it means in list 2, so it is 0, it is 1, it is 2, it is 3, it is 4, it is 5, it is 6. So we are taking from 2 to 7 means 2 to 6, right? So then we have 272. So it is a step. Step is also mentioned over here, right? First we have mentioned 72, then we have 85, and then we will be having 23. We are adding 60 to it, right? After adding 60, so this becomes list 1 becomes this one, and then you are printing this list 1. Then insert means at particular location you are inserting. So at 5th position you are inserting 17, so this 17 will be inserted inside over here. Here it will be inserted after 5, right? It will become 5th. Now this becomes 6th, and this becomes 7. Right, now displaying, you are displaying. Then you are popping 3, right? So it is through index, right? So list 2, 0, 1, 2, 3, 42 will be out. Then is then reverse, you are doing the reversing of the list, and then you are clearing the list. So this becomes the clearing of the list. Again, some of the examples will print index 4. So we have already covered, right? So these are another some examples that you can just go through. It is displayed onto the screen. We have already done all these things: indexing, slicing, concatenation. Another some of the examples for checking the type of the given list, printing the list, list slicing, another list slicing, list concatenation using plus operator, list repetition using the multiplication operator. Now let's have a look on the difference between list and the arrays. Arrays are very less easy to use in many ways because but they also have some advantages because they are so simple and there are so many restrictions on what you can do with them. The computers can handle them very efficiently. That means that it is often much faster to use an array than to use an object which behaves like a list. A lot of programmers use them when it is important for their programs to be fast. Python has a built-in array type. It's not quite as restricting as an array in C or C Java. You have to specify a type for the contents of the array, and you can only use it to store numeric values. But you can resize it dynamically like a list. You will probably never need to use it. Many other languages don't have a built-in type which behaves like Python list. You can use an implementation from a library or write your own, but often programmers who use these languages use arrays instead. Arrays are simpler, more low-level data structures, which don't have all the functionality of a list. So let's see some of the differences. An array has a fixed size which you specify when you create it. If you need to add or remove elements, you have to make a new array. If the language is statically typed, you also have to specify a single type of values which you are going to put in the arrow when you create it. In languages which have primitive types, arrays are usually not objects, so they don't have any methods, they are just the containers, right? So in if you talk about lists, so we have number of methods, we can reassign the values, we can extend it, so it is very easy to do this. So I have taken the contents from number of slides. So I hope you are able to understand about all these concepts related to this.
Yes, sir.